Welcome to CINEPRO, where we bring your favorite movies back to life with quick recaps, hidden details, and everything you missed. The film begins in the 10th year after the collapse of human civilization, and the survivors are forced into a desperate struggle, resorting to cannibalism to stay alive. A young man named Jake, upon seeing some strangers approaching, hides in a secluded cabin in the woods, trembling with fear, unaware that these very people were the ones he had provoked just the day before. The scene then shifts, showing Jake and his father hunting. His father had succeeded in wounding a large wild boar, and when they followed the blood trail, they discovered that the boar had jumped into a swamp. Now, with no other options left, they had to expand their search for supplies, food, water, and whatever else they could live on. After walking some distance, father and son found two cars blocking their path, covered with tree branches. The car doors and trunks were open, indicating that the previous occupants had been alerted to danger before. Still, they decided to search inside. Jake, unintentionally, turned on the car's lights, drawing his father's attention. Jake felt a bit embarrassed and stayed silent. While his father hurriedly searched for a pack of cigarettes that had fallen in a corner of the car, Jake was lucky enough to find a pack of expired biscuits, which he quickly hid. But again, by accident, he pressed the car horn. The loud sound shattered the forest's silence and soon attracted a pack of wild dogs. Terrified, his father shoved Jake into the back seat, quickly closed the trunk, and hid in the driver's seat. Luckily, the wild dogs didn't find them, and both narrowly escaped. Jake, who had always been pampered and well cared for by his father, still thought like a child. Taking advantage of his father's distraction, he almost finished the entire pack of biscuits. He quickly took the last piece and threw the biscuit wrapper aside in a spot that clearly hadn't been visited in a long time. The appearance of a clean biscuit wrapper in that place was sure to bring them trouble. The next day, while Jake was in the bathroom, he suddenly heard a commotion behind him. When he turned around, he saw a large group of strangers approaching. Jake panicked and hid again inside the cabin, covering himself with whatever he could find, unaware that these people had appeared because of his actions. Jake peeked through a hole in the door to see what was happening and saw the group getting closer. Overwhelmed by fear, he fell to the ground. His father woke up from the noise, and when he noticed Jake's terror, he immediately understood that there was danger and got ready. When he saw the large group coming toward the cabin, he knew a fight was inevitable. He quickly packed their belongings, put the essential medicine in a backpack, and gave it to the still shocked Jake. Jake started to come to his senses a bit. His father broke a wooden plank with his foot, and they both escaped quickly through the back door. But Jake's wife was badly injured and couldn't walk far. The father had to make a painful decision. He hid his son and daughter-in-law in a sewage pit and faced the group of killers alone. Despite his fear, he managed to wound a few of them before they overpowered him and knocked him to the ground with a blow from a stick. One of the evil men seized the opportunity and killed him. Jake and his wife witnessed his father's death with their own eyes, both terrified and heartbroken. To stay alive, they had to stifle their cries and grief. Afterward, the group looted the cabin, taking everything useful. One of the thieves noticed the backpack Jake had thrown away, and when he opened it, he found the very valuable medicine inside and was overjoyed. In this post-apocalyptic world, most people were infected with a bacterial disease, and this medicine was the only thing that could keep them alive. Jake's wife needed that medicine to survive, but now all the pills had been stolen. Jake watched the thieves tie up his father's body, carry it away, and walk off, unable to do anything. As they passed by the sewage pit, their leader noticed something strange and tried to lift the cover, but Jake managed to hold it down with all his strength and prevent the thief from opening it. Out of curiosity, the leader got closer to the opening to see what was inside, but quickly recoiled because of the terrible smell, giving Jake and his wife a brief chance to catch their breath. When the thieves finally left, Jake emerged from the pit and saw the biscuit wrapper on the ground, realizing that his greed had caused this entire disaster. Inside the cabin, everything was a mess, and all the supplies they had gathered were gone. Worse still, his wife's wound had become severely infected. She lay unconscious on the bed, with no medicine to treat her. Jake felt completely helpless. In a moment of despair, he considered ending his wife's suffering with a pillow. But after his father's death, Jake couldn't bear the thought of losing his beloved wife too. He became determined to find the medicine. He left the cabin, gave his wife the last bit of water they had, and propped a wooden plank against the door to protect her. Then Jake followed the blood trail left by his father's body as it was dragged through the wilderness. The ground was beginning to freeze over, and Jake was only wearing a t-shirt, But he did not know how far he walked until exhaustion weakened his limbs and he fell to the ground. Before he fainted, he saw a little boy passing by him. Jake seized the opportunity immediately and walked after him. When the boy reached his house, he saw Jake, so he quickly ran inside and locked the iron gate behind him with the key. But the gate could not stop Jake. He kicked it with his foot several times until the locked door broke and the boy opened it, afraid, and hid in his grandfather's arms. But Jake did not. So the grandfather and the grandson just took the old man's clothes to warm himself. After putting on the clothes, Jake continued his search for the thieves' hideout. He discovered more bloodstains on the ground and some scattered bones near them. Jake immediately understood that his father was killed by the thieves. He could not control himself and returned from disgust with great sadness. He buried his father's remains before he could gather himself again. Now, his wife's life was at stake. Jake knew that he had to find the thieves quickly and take the medicine to save her. But with the disappearance of the blood, the only evidence he was gone. Suddenly an idea came to Jake, and he quickly climbed a nearby tree to get a wider view. Indeed, he saw smoke rising from afar. Before he could do anything, he lost his balance and fell hard to the ground. What was worse was that the sound he made attracted a pack of wild dogs. Jake immediately prepared to run away, but his leg was injured from the incident was broken, and Jake fell next to an extinguished fire, and he thought that animals are afraid of fire. So he decided to light the fire again to scare these monsters, and with the beginning of sunset, Jake succeeded in lighting the fire again, and started adding more wood to it to make the flame bigger after that. Jake grabbed the lit wood and waved it and succeeded in scaring the pack of wild dogs and keeping them away. When Jake woke up at dawn, he found the fire extinguished again, and after he escaped from the danger by good health, he continued his journey while walking. Jake noticed a closed blue tent. He opened it and started looking for any supplies. He threw away the light clothes that were in it and took 2 extra boxes of matches and a rusted knife and a whistle that did not seem to be needed. As Jake was leaving the tent, he encountered the young boy again. The boy got scared, turned around quickly, and ran away. Jake continued walking along the small river in the forest, noticing bloodstains floating on the water's surface, so he quickly hid. Jake watched his surroundings cautiously and saw the only woman in the gang cleaning her knife by the river. Jake didn't act rashly, but picked up a stone and quietly followed the woman back to the thieves' camp. Seeing that the woman was the only one at the camp, he considered breaking in and stealing from them. Suddenly, Jake noticed a trap his father had set and carefully avoided the string attached to a bell. He immediately spotted the familiar backpack inside the camp. Jake quickly searched the backpack, but the medicine wasn't there. He started looking elsewhere around the camp, but the woman sensed something was wrong and began to circle the area ready to attack. Luckily, Jake saw the danger in a broken mirror and managed to dodge her attack and respond. But the woman was surprisingly strong, and Jake couldn't overpower her in the fight. He grabbed the stone he had picked up earlier and delivered a fatal blow. Jake then went to a nearby caravan and searched for the medicine. But when the thieves returned, Jake quickly wiped up the bloodstain and covered any traces of the fight, then dragged the woman to his hiding spot and hid as well. When the thieves returned to the camp, they had also captured the innocent young boy. To Jake's surprise, the leader was very observant and immediately noticed that the mirror had been moved, but the boy was suspicious of him and immediately screamed for help. The wounded man was annoyed by the noise, got up, and went into the caravan to see what was happening. But the boy was found to have escaped after Jake untied him. The injured man immediately ran after the boy. Jake took advantage of this opportunity and approached the closed medicine box. But just as Jake was about to open it, the leader returned to the camp. So Jake quickly hid under the caravan. He saw the thieves had found the woman's body. Some of them still had a bit of humanity and didn't eat her. Instead, they chose to burn her respectfully to avoid exposing their location. Jake had to stay hidden under the caravan all night. The next morning, while the leader was still asleep, Jake quietly entered the caravan. He used his small knife to cut the ropes and took the key that was hanging around the leader's neck. Jake managed to open the medicine box, quickly put the pills in his pocket, and used the lock to close the caravan door from the outside. Just as Jake was getting ready to leave, he accidentally hit the bell string. The sound of the bell woke the sleeping leader, who immediately tried to get out to catch the intruder, but found the door locked from the outside. The leader went mad and started banging violently on the door. Eventually, he managed to break out. Jake ran with all his strength into the forest, with the leader and his men chasing after him, the distance between them shrinking quickly. At the same time, Jake's wife woke up to the sounds of wild dogs. When she opened her eyes, she saw the danger outside. The dogs had surrounded the hut, and one of them had stuck its head through the door opening. Jake was in great danger, but because he knew the area well, he managed to use that to his advantage and avoid the thieves. He ran through the forest until he found an abandoned house and noticed there were many wild dog footprints inside. The old man, the boy's grandfather, when he was no longer protected by the iron gate, had fallen prey to the dogs. This scene shook Jake badly, and he left the house confused and hopeless, with no strength left to resist. Jake surrendered to his inevitable fate when strange figures attacked him. When he woke up again, he found himself tied up and thrown on the ground. The thieves were busy sharpening knives, lighting a fire, and getting ready to cook Jake alive. But Jake was not ready to die yet. Suddenly, he spotted the whistle he had found earlier lying next to him, unnoticed by the thieves. Jake blew the whistle, making a loud, sharp sound throughout the forest. The wild dogs, who had been hungry for a long time, arrived quickly. The leader realized the danger and kicked Jake to stop him, but it was too late. The howling of the dogs filled the air and they started chasing the thieves. Jake took advantage of the chaos and used the small knife he had hidden to cut his ropes and hid behind a nearby tree to avoid the dogs. After that, Jake quickly put on the clothes of one of the thieves and prepared himself to repel the attack. After the thieves managed to escape from the dogs, they immediately started searching for Jake to take revenge on him. The first one to reach the place, since Jake had disappeared, immediately started searching the area. After a while, he saw the edge of Jake's clothes peeking out from behind a tree. He pulled out a knife and attacked suddenly, only to discover he was holding a piece of discarded clothing. Jake took advantage of the opportunity, jumped from the tree, and landed on the man's neck, taking him completely by surprise. Jake quickly swapped clothes with the man and dragged the body forward to lure another member of the group. At first, the thieves thought Jake was one of them, but when they got closer, they realized their mistake. But it was too late, as Jake quickly turned and stabbed the second man in the chest with a knife. After finishing off the second thief, Jake took the man's bow and arrows, which by coincidence had been made by Jake's father, determined to get revenge. Jake shot an arrow that hit the leader in the thigh, but the leader showed an unnatural tolerance for pain and quickly broke the arrow from his leg. Jake tried to shoot again, but the bowstring snapped, putting him in a dangerous situation with the sound of the wild dogs approaching again. Jake and the leader had no choice but to hide. After Jake ran what felt like miles, he stumbled upon a house. He approached cautiously and was relieved to find that the house was abandoned. He saw a skeleton lying nearby and was surprised to find a gun next to it. Jake entered the house carefully and discovered a stockpile of supplies, including another gun. Now, armed with 2 guns, Jake felt powerful and ready for anything. But just as he was preparing to take some food, he heard someone enter the house. Jake turned and saw the leader had followed him there. Jake took advantage of a moment when the leader wasn't paying attention and aimed the gun at him, only to discover it was empty with no bullets. The leader, now encouraged, advanced and engaged Jake in a fierce fight. It was clear Jake was no match for the leader, who quickly pinned him to the ground and began beating him mercilessly. Jake quickly thought up a plan and pressed hard on the wound in the leader's thigh. The leader screamed in pain and loosened his grip. Jake took advantage of the moment, stood up with difficulty, and grabbed another weapon from the table. Without hesitation, he fired. This time, the leader wasn't so lucky. Jake finally managed to escape the chase. Without wasting any time, he ran straight home. As he passed by the little boy's house, Jake left him 3 cans of food as compensation. Then Jake hurried to the hut in the forest. When he arrived and found the hut's barrier destroyed and his wife nowhere to be found, Jake collapsed to the ground in agony, overwhelmed by a deep sense of despair. At that moment, someone approached Jake from behind and gently placed a hand on his shoulder. Hope returned to Jake that he would go home, and that's the end of the movie. See you in a new summary.